The city lights flickered against the glass windows of Logan Price's high-rise office, casting golden reflections on the sleek marble floor. It was past midnight, and the only sounds were the soft tapping of keys and the distant hum of traffic far below. Ava Brooks sat across from Logan, reviewing documents with the quiet efficiency that had earned her his respect, though he never said it aloud. She was calm, brilliant, always composed. He was all edges and ambition, hiding loneliness behind designer suits and brutal work hours. That night felt different. Their conversation drifted from quarterly projections to childhood dreams, family, fear, things neither had ever shared in the confines of a corporate world built on walls. One glass of wine turned into two. Their laughter echoed in the stillness. Vulnerability crept in where professionalism once stood. And in a moment of weakness, or maybe something deeper, they crossed a line. By sunrise, Logan stood alone in his office, staring out the window like he could rewind time. Panic churned in his chest. It wasn't just the scandal he feared, it was what she made him feel. Something real. Something dangerous. When Ava walked in, expecting confusion but maybe a conversation, he handed her a termination letter without looking her in the eye. "I'm sorry. It's for the best," was all he said. She didn't beg. Didn't cry. She nodded once, pain flickering in her eyes, and walked out with her dignity intact. Logan never saw her again. Or so he thought. The sun blazed over Atlanta as nurses moved quickly through the halls of the city's newest community hospital. On the third floor, in a modest but immaculate office, Dr. Ava Brooks signed off on discharge papers for a young mother and her newborn. Her smile was gentle, her presence steady, there was something about her that made patients feel safe, seen. No one here knew her past. They only knew her story as one of triumph. The doctor who once slept in her car, who worked nights as a waitress while studying biology by day. Who earned every scholarship she could find, stayed up through tears and textbooks, and never once asked the world for pity, only opportunity. 5 years ago, she'd walked out of a Manhattan office broken, uncertain of her worth. Today, she was the founder of the Ava Initiative, a nonprofit wing of the hospital focused on caring for mothers and children often ignored by the system. Her program provided not just medical care, but housing, job training, and hope. Some nights, after the ward had gone quiet, Ava would sit in her office and think about that night, about Logan Price. Not with bitterness, but with a strange sort of gratitude. That betrayal had lit a fire in her. It taught her to stop waiting for doors to open and start building her own. She never expected to see him again. But fate, as she was learning, has a way of circling back, especially when healing still has work to do. The rain came down hard that evening in Atlanta, streaking the emergency room windows like tears. Nurses moved briskly, doctors called out orders, but the commotion paused for a moment when the doors slid open and a man was wheeled in on a stretcher. Unconscious. No ID. Mid-30s. Possible cardiac event, a paramedic barked. Dr. Ava Brooks rushed over, gloves already on. She looked down at the patient, and froze. There, pale and still beneath an oxygen mask, was Logan Price. Her breath caught in her throat. The same man who once fired her without a word, who shattered her world in a single morning, was now unconscious, vulnerable, and alone on her hospital bed. A nurse noticed her hesitation. "Doctor?" Ava blinked, steadied herself, and nodded. "Let's work. Page cardiology and start labs. I want him stable within the hour." She pushed her emotions aside like a pro. This wasn't about the past. This was about a man's life. She treated him as she would any other patient. With precision, care, and compassion. Hours later, Logan opened his eyes slowly to the sterile white of the hospital room ceiling. He turned, and saw her standing there. No makeup. White coat. Stethoscope around her neck. Stronger. Softer. Unforgettable. Ava, he rasped, disbelief in his voice. She didn't answer right away. Just gave a small smile and said, "You're lucky. You came in just in time." Logan stared at her, speechless, not from illness, but from something far deeper, regret, awe, and something that felt a lot like shame. The next morning, golden light spilled into Logan's hospital room. He sat propped up in bed, for still in his arm, eyes fixed on the door as if trying to make sense of the night before. When it finally opened, and Ava walked in holding his chart, the air thickened with everything unspoken. She was calm, professional, but her eyes held layers. Strength. Pain. Distance. "You had a minor heart attack," she said, flipping through the chart. "Stress-induced. No permanent damage, but it's a wake-up call." Logan gave a dry laugh, then looked up at her. Seeing you like this, it is the wake-up call." Ava glanced at him, saying nothing. He swallowed. "I was a coward, Ava. Back then. I didn't fire you because of policy, I fired you because I felt something that scared the hell out of me. And instead of facing it, I punished you for it." She slowly closed the chart. "I thought about you," he continued, voice cracking. "More times than I'll admit. I even tried to find you. But you were gone." Ava nodded, her voice soft but firm. "I had to disappear to find myself." She sat down beside him, folding her hands. "You didn't break me, Logan. You shook me. And it hurt, but it also pushed me to become the woman I was always meant to be." He looked at her, tears brimming. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "Even if I don't deserve to say it." Ava smiled, eyes kind. "Maybe not. But now you understand something. What you do with your power matters. Even after the apology." For the first time in years, Logan felt seen, and it cut deeper than any boardroom failure ever had. A few weeks later, the hospital garden was quiet, touched by late afternoon sun and the soft rustle of wind through trees. Patients strolled slowly along the paths, nurses laughed on their break benches, and in the corner, under a blooming dogwood, sat Logan Price and Ava Brooks. He looked healthier, less guarded. Not in a suit, just jeans and a sweater. She sat beside him in her white coat, tablet in hand, scanning patient notes. For a while, they said nothing, just shared the peace. "I read about the donation," she said finally, glancing at him. He raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence. "Donation?" She smirked. $2 million. Anonymously. To the Ava Initiative. For expanded maternal housing and mental health services. Logan gave a small smile, eyes on the sky. Anonymous generosity has a nice ring to it. She looked at him. "Why?" He turned to her. "Because you saved my life, Ava. Not just in that hospital room. But by showing me what real strength looks like. I spent years chasing power, but you used your pain to uplift people. I wanted to be part of that, even if only from a distance." Ava's eyes softened. "You didn't have to give money." "I know," he said. "But I needed to give something." They sat in silence for a moment. Then she spoke, voice quiet. "People change, Logan. Sometimes it takes breaking to finally rebuild." He looked at her, not with desire, but with reverence. And for the first time, she saw not the man who hurt her, but the man learning how to heal. Under the golden light, two paths once divided now ran parallel, not as lovers, but as people who had transformed through grace. Sometimes, Ava whispered, almost to herself, the story you think broke you, becomes the reason someone else survives. And with that, they both smiled. Knowing this ending was never about revenge, but redemption.